Okay, this is going to be a special UAP on the JFK assassination. And I have several sections on this, but we're going to start with the Majestic documents. This is by Robert Wood, who has an extensive background and has worked with William Tompkins. I'm going to give you his bio in a minute. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a series of documents that he has verified relating to MJ-12 and the JFK assassination. And I think you'll agree with me by the end of this that the JFK assassination had everything to do with UAPs and the UAP cover-up. Let's get started on this now.
The ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus, the shooter. Chicago's shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot was Johnny Roselli. He was in the storm sewer. But it wasn't until years later when they did that graphic that's been sent around, that bullet had to ricochet and go in 10 different ways.
Okay, that's Gianni Russo from his recounting his great book, Hollywood Godfather. I advise you all to get it. He mentioned there that he had seen Oswald coming out of the bathroom in a restaurant where the mobsters were hanging out in New Orleans. And he talks about the shooters there. I think he's probably right. I think there may be others involved as well, but those were the ones he knew of. I thought that was an interesting clip to start the show. But he has a lot of inside information. I advise you to take a look at this book or look at his interviews on YouTube. Really an interesting guy. Knew Marilyn Monroe as well. Okay, let's get back to the story. Okay, this is Majestic Documents, and you can go to their site. And by the way, you can donate to Majestic Documents. You can also buy the full collection of these documents for $39.99 on Amazon.com. The Majestic Documents. This is by Wood, who is a forensic document analyst and an ex-aerospace engineer who also collaborated with William Tompkins on his great series of books, Selected by Extraterrestrials. Now, with the advent of Robert Kennedy mentioning the death of John F. Kennedy, if you go to the Majestic Documents site, you can go to documents dated 60 to 69. Here's one. Now, these are all rated by how much confidence he has in them. They all have pretty high confidence. This one, John F. Kennedy, director to the director of the CIA, MJ-12, authority of the CIA, Marilyn Monroe document, a CIA director Hillenkoetter to Donald Menzel. By the way, Hillenkoetter was the first was involved with MJ-12. If you remember, the guy who hacked the U.S. network for the Space Command, the ship he saw a picture of was named the Hillenkoetter. JFK letter to CIA, NSA intercept, burned memo cover letter, and we've got the burned memos here. Now, I'm going to try to go through these. They demand more attention. I recommend you go to the site or donate or buy the documents if you are an avid UFO researcher. These documents originally were purchased, I believe, by Bigelow for a great amount of money, which allowed Wood and his son to release them in this manner. Anyway, let's just go over a couple of these. This is security memorandum to the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, review of MJ-12 intelligence operations as they relate to Cold War psychological warfare platform. I would like a brief summary from you at your earliest convenience. So, this is John F. Kennedy's signature down here. This tells you that MJ-12 exists. This is something I thought I would include, August 62. This is, I believe, one of the intelligence agencies. This is a memo, internal memo about Marilyn Monroe. And down here, let's just go through the points. Dorothy Kilgallen is mentioned here, who was also an object of study by UFO researchers because of her passing and her knowledge of this and her interviewing of Jack Ruby and the assassination of JFK. Anyway, on Marilyn Monroe. Repeatedly called Attorney General, complained about the way she was being ignored by the president and his brother, JFK, RFK. Subject threatened to hold a press conference and would tell all. Now, the story is that JFK and Pillow Talk had confided with her about the alien issue. Bases in Cuba, knew of the president's plans to kill Castro. Subject made reference to her diary of secrets, and that's what we're talking about with the UFO thing. But anyway, there has been a great deal of research into this, that the intelligence agencies, under the direction of MJ-12, whatever, had Marilyn Monroe executed, because she was going to, the next day, have a press conference and basically expose the UFO and alien thing. Now we have, this is another November 1263, now this is to the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, classification review of all UFO intelligence files affecting national security, discussed with you previously. James Webb, who they named the telescope after. Program with the I have instructed James Webb to develop a program with the Soviet Union in joint space, lunar, and lunar exploration. So in other words, Kennedy wanted the USA and Russia to join and share information, and a lot of people feel that this was the step too far, the bridge too far, which caused his demise. It would be helpful if you would, the high interest cases reviewed with the purpose of identifying bona fide of both the classifiable UAP. So we're talking about UFOs here, the high threat cases. It's important that we make a clear distribution between the knowns and unknowns, event that Soviets try to mistake our extended cooperation as a cover for intelligence gathering. So Kennedy was serious about this. When this data has been sorted out, I would like to arrange a program of data sharing where NASA, where unknowns are a factor, this will be blah, blah, blah. Interim report on this data no later than February 1, 64, John F. Kennedy. So, this is November 12, 63. Kennedy wanted to make a move. Now we're going to go through the next document here that or one of them coming up. This is a document on the site. This is the hotline transcript that was intercepted. And this is Kennedy having a conversation with the premier of Russia. Situations of both countries, and you guys can pause this and read this. The Greek comedy Impasse last year was foolish and deadly, and this may be referring to the, I believe it's not Wendell Stevens. There was a large group of UFOs that flew across Europe, and this is what I believe they're referring to here. that foolish and deadly. Both sides thought it was a nuclear attack. It was barely avoided. And the researcher that was actually part of NATO's monitoring system there has come out and discussed this in depth. I can't remember his name at the moment, not Wendell Stevens. One problem in common, which I would like to address to your working group on the UFO problem. That it would be Kennedy. And here is the Russian counterpart. Yes, I agree with your with your assessment. We nearly tied the knot that divides us permanently. That was that UFO fleet that flew across Europe. Our working group believes the same way yours. The UFO problem presents grave danger to our countries and to the whole world. God will never forget us. Then you agree, Mr. Premier, we should cooperate together on this. Yes, Mr. President. I have begun an initiative with our NASA to exchange information. So this is confirmed. And again, I advise you to either donate to Majestic Documents and go on the site and read these. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is just stunning stuff. Let's move on to the next document here. This is June 23, 1999. This is to Mr. Timothy Cooper. This is a researcher, I believe a UFO researcher, retired CIA counterintelligence officer, who worked with Jim Jesus Angleton, who was in the middle of all this. Secret files that would connect MJ-12 to JFK's murder. So, MJ-12, who was the steering group for the UAP issue, according to this document, is the one that put the green light on the Kennedy assassination. I would add that Admiral Byrd's son, there is a great interview with him regarding MJ-12, and he even locates the office in the Pentagon where MJ-12 meets and where their files are and so forth. Anyway, moving forward. Very fearful disclosure in unauthorized channels. I literally snatched the directives from the fire and kept them safe from review. So he had snatched some documents, which we're going to show in a second, that were set to be burned. The files, the Majestic Jehovah Project will be pried loose, and the public's right to know should begin. And again, you can read this full text. It's interesting down here. I think your decision with Dr. Wood, who is the progenitor of this information. I hope you have read the blue book, A Magic Report with an Open Mind. This might say, by the way, Dr. Wood has a CD on these documents. This is interesting. And again, you can read this full text. Nixon's SCEO, I think that's the head of intelligence, ordered all MJ-12 documentation purged and destroyed. So Nixon, who remember was Eisenhower's vice president, and about whom there's a story that when he was president, he took Jackie Gleason, who was a UFO researcher, to see preserved alien bodies at a base in Florida. In any case, this carbon copy is the only link to MJ-12. Don't expect any more, and this is what he's talking about. So what happened is all the hard copy MJ-12 stuff was destroyed by Nixon, and Eisenhower supposedly had met with gray aliens. His speech about the military-industrial complex is supposed to be about the privatization of the UFO issue. Day After Roswell author, oh my goodness, his name slips me at the moment, said that he was an aide de camp to Eisenhower, he was ordered to go to Area 51 and tell them Eisenhower was going to march the Army 12th Division out of Colorado and invade Area 51 unless he was gained access, and they did get limited access. Anyway, I digress. That's Philip Corso. But it's funny, not funny, but Nixon is all in the middle of this. So let's just move on to the next notice. This is the Byrne document, top secret MJ-12, that he snatched from the file. Robert Wood feels he's a document validator, and he feels this is pretty valid. To review the duplicates, this problem, directive for your review, please evaluate each draft, and there's President Need to Know, Project Blue Book, PSYOP, so on and so forth. You can read this. You can pause this and read this. In the likely event that the subject of unidentified flying objects or conventional is a subject matter under discussion with the chief executive, blah, 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 blah. I am not going to read this. This is filler. What we want to get to is the punchline. And that is coming in the next document. So they are discussing in this burned document MJ-12 and JFK, directive regarding need to know. And this goes down and out. This has been burned, and you can pause this and read this. I suggest you go on the website, or buy the documents from Amazon. And this is the punchline page. It's burned, policy directives, so on and so forth. Remember, this is from MJ-12. Blue Book, only when responding to public, and they're talking about how to handle releases of information here. Forwarded by members, and this is some other apparatchik talk. This is barely readable here. Now, conventional methods are not, diagnostic MJ projects should be held, spike and house cleaning operations in major centers in the event conventional methods are not satisfactory. Specialists from MK Ultra, which is a thing, which is actually based on the Nazi death camp doctors' efforts to develop a soldier that couldn't be influenced by aliens for Adolf Hitler, which came to America via the paperclip imports of Nazis into the space program and so forth, hereby activated to conduct domestic. So anyway, they moved MK Ultra to conduct domestic. So you can see that's Mengele is the first one to work with MK Ultra, and again, at the behest of Adolf Hitler, to develop a soldier that could not be directed by telepathic signals from reptilian agents. And you can read about this in William Tompkins' book. I'm not going to comment on whether I agree or not with that, but I think it is fascinating. Anyway, as we go down here, this is the key page. Directive regarding Project I cannot make that out. Viewpoint something. When conditions become non-conductive for growth in our environment in Washington, cannot be influenced further. Okay, so they're talking about the operations of MJ-12, and this is a draft. It says the weather is lacking any precipitation. So what they're saying is it's getting hard for them to do MJ-12 business, and that is keeping a lid on the alien issue and the UAP issue. They say the weather is lacking any precipitation, and ... it should be wet. And what does that mean? In spy talk, when you go wet, that means blood is spilled. It's an assassination project. So, I wonder if Robert F. Kennedy is aware of this. I kind of think they are. We don't know. But again, this is Majestic Documents, fascinating. There is all kind of information here. I advise you to review it. I think this is an interesting look regarding the news today on the Kennedy running for president presently, who said that he felt the CIA killed Kennedy. Just to give you a background on the Majestic Documents, this is the investigations team. Robert Evanwood, PhD. This is the gentleman who's also worked with William Tompkins. I have a CD of a group of documents that he verified, and he goes through how he does the forensic verification of these documents. I'm just going to read his bio here. With a Bachelor of Science Aeronautical Engineering from Colorado and a PhD in Physics from Cornell, 43 years at McDonnell Douglas, research and development projects, over 30 years of investigations into UFOs. He was asked by the head of McDonnell Douglas to look into the UFO thing and see if they could make any money out of it. And that's what got him started in the UFO. Dr. Wood is uniquely qualified to provide credible analysis about the nature of the UFO reality. He began reconstructing Magic Special Operations Manual in 1995. And as I said, he is a document forensics expert and someone who really is a top-notch researcher. We're going to try to go into, you can just see, this is his resume here. You can go down, there's, again, you can pause this and read it or go to the website. These are his publications. They're numerous. This is a MUFON paper that was presented about how he validated the new Majestic 12 documents. It goes into the details. So this is a heavy hitter. This is not a lightweight guy. And then we'll just go back here. His son has now taken over a great deal of the work. And I've seen a couple presentations of his. They're quite good. And he's moving forward with new developments. And just briefly, Nick Redfern, we all know, Stan Friedman, Tim Cooper, we know, Jim Clarkson. So these are the people involved in the Majestic documents. This is a stunning young picture of JFK. Just look at him. And about this age, his father got him a job as a starting role in politics to be the aide-de-camp. At this point, Kennedy wanted to be a writer to James Forrestal, who was the first Secretary of Defense. There's a lot of UFO lore about James Forrestal. He supposedly had committed suicide after being admitted to a hospital for a nervous breakdown. There's much evidence that he was thrown out of a window to silence him and protect his family, by the way, because he wanted to release information on UFOs. So, if JFK was his assistant, I think it would make sense that he may have been privy to some of this information. As well, there's a great testimony by a steward on Air Force One who was flying with JFK. He was looking at some headlines regarding UFOs when the steward came up to serve him some coffee or whatever, and JFK looked at the steward, and the steward said, reading about UFOs, eh? And something to that nature. And JFK said, they're real, you know. They're real, you know. So, I think that, hiding the UAP phenomenon, we've missed a lot of history in this country. And I think if the story's ever told, if the story's there, I think there's a story there, then we're all going to find out that many of these major events in history have had UAP involvement that we're not aware of. Now, I have other sections of this special planned. I hope you liked the episode, and goodbye.